Lockwood offered things in the back of the book.
They didn't offer that right there. That looks like something somebody made.
Well, I made this, but I made it based on the catalog that has the accessories.
Okay,
That's
so it
all
looks
this
like
is.
the catalog.
Yeah, it looks as close to the catalog as I could make it
Okay.
from a picture. And this was offered for both Ace and Chief.
28 or 29? 29, that would be.
28 Chief and any Ace. And 29, it doesn't fit this one.
You mean to tell me it fits that one? That's got a great big fat handle on it.
Right, which this fits. I don't know if it would fit this
I
one.
think that's what it's made for.
No,
right
it's
there.
not made for this one.
I'm sorry, but it sure looks like it to me.
Yeah, it probably would fit on this one as well.
Yeah.
You see, it's the bigger diameter and the smaller diameter.
Yeah, but take a look at the diameter of this one over here. It's enormous.
Yeah, but you've got all that covered. That's not original.
Well,
Modified it.
I've got it so I could use the
Well, that's
handle
all
that
right.
I made for it.
Right.
You know,
So
I
you've
have
got some kind of rubber hose over that.
Right,
But this fits all the 28s that I
but
have.
these screws right here is how I screwed mine on. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
And also fits Ace quite well.
Okay,
There's
gotcha.
a big diameter and a small diameter,
Yeah,
whether it's
all
this
right.
one or that one. So anyway, that's that. This is a copy of a Lockwood accessory.
You've raised the inquisition in me by talking about oils.
Oh,
Okay.
good. All right.
So now I'm.
This
tuned
is
into-
another accessory that was in the Lockwood catalog.
That must have been a later catalog.
Yeah.
Okay.
29.
After it was an OMC.
Which would yes, because this is an
looks
Evinrude.
like an Evinrude handle.
That's
to
an
me.
Evinrude part for
Okay.
sure. Right, and so they're able to use that with the Lockwood castings to replace this.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
And it has the the correct carburetor to hook.
Did I give you?
boat cable to.
I gave that to somebody. I had one of those handles. Did I
Did
give
you?
it to you?
No.
I didn't. Is it still here? If it's here, you can have it. Somebody needed one,
Huh.
and I gave it to him. Oh, well, doesn't matter.
The other accessory is kind of an obscure little thing. Well, this and this. Let's see. In here. This piece
Yes.
goes on the boat, and it engages in the point. If anybody ever wondered,
It's a
what's,
second point.
what's that point on the bottom of the transom bracket?
Okay.
That fits on there.
Okay. All
So
right.
it helps
Nice.
keep the motor from slipping off sideways off the boat.
Slipping. No, going around a corner, they come off quite abruptly.
Yeah.
Having
Right.
had that experience before, yes. Right.
The problem with Lockwood is that they didn't do the same with the Ace.
Yeah.
If they did the same thing on the Ace, then you could have this on your boat and you could change from a
Motors.
Lockwood, a Chief to an
But
Ace.
who would possibly want to go backwards? I mean, hey, if you got a Chief,
But they didn't do that.
why would you want an Ace?
And not only that, they made it so that if this is on the boat,
But the Ace has the same thing. No, it doesn't. It has a bolt.
right.
Okay. All right. I see.
And not
All
only
right.
that, it makes it so that
All
this
right.
is already on
There's the Ace right there.
Right.
And there is the Chief. Huh. I never knew what that was for. How about that?
That's what it's for.
Huh. Okay.
So the problem with this, if this is on the boat, it's up a little too high. So when you try to put the Ace on, those two little nubs hit this and don't engage in it.
Ah.
So it's no good. You can't use an Ace when this is in the right place.
Ace ain't the place then.
Another accessory that this is just a casting, but this was offered by Lockwood, a Skeg.
Yeah, okay, that must have been somebody made that for you.
This did, yeah.
If it came from Lockwood, it would have had the holes drilled in it.
It would
and
have, right.
everything, yeah,
But this is a made from an original.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Who made that?
I don't remember.
Huh.
So it's just an example of Lockwood offered, and in their instruction manual, they talk about how they don't recommend it, but in some cases people have asked for it and they've agreed to supply those, even though they feel it's totally unnecessary. There's a whole section on that to talk about
They did not-
how
they-
unnecessary that is.
That person who said that hadn't ridden in acute craft.
Yeah, or they're a sissy or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really stuck with this no Skeg business. Another accessory is the way the transom brackets are. I mean, the thumb screws are.
Lock.
When they're
Oh, yeah.
together, you put a
Right.
lock between them and you can lock it.
So you'd have about a tenth of a second longer to snap the aluminum ends off those.
Or just pry the thing
Right,
off the
right.
boat, right. But one interesting thing about these handles are it was really a Lockwood feature, but these appeared on many Alto Evernudes in the 30s.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a really nice feature to be able to tighten the motor easily. There's enough leverage, it doesn't hurt your hands.
I think theft probably was on the rise in the 30s too. Anything to make a buck. It was during the Depression. And
Yeah,
I would
sure.
have thought stolen motors probably went through the roof in
Right.
the 30s.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
By the way, have you
accessories.
ever had looked at Johnson's or some of the stolen motor lists and
I
found
have.
an engine?
And I'd love to see all those and see if somebody actually can find a number that was
A stolen motor, but I don't think they'd want to admit to it. They might have to give it back.
Oh yeah, conspiracy people would say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to tell anybody that." Yeah, right. They can't do that. People are going to come after me, right?
Right.
So one of the last little piece that we could talk about is some repair techniques.
Okay.
And I mean, some of this stuff is pretty straightforward. I mean, having a damaged crankshaft is, any of these parts, if they're damaged, are trouble because there's no replacements at all. And
But you can, on a solid bearing system, you can spray metal.
you could do something.
You can spray metal and turn it down, unlike a roller
Right.
bearing. which
Or you
will
could just grind
peel
it.
up.
This one would take maybe a 5 thou grind, okay? And if a little bit of the center didn't clean up,
How much were they hardened? Are they surface hardened or are they the whole crank hardened?
No, they're only surface hardened.
So you've got only so much to play with there.
Very little to play with, I know. And I haven't a couple Ace crankshafts at home that are supposed to be case hardened, but they file pretty easy,
Yeah.
so they're not really that hard. Other repair techniques, of course, one of the things that happens.
Why don't you take some of your horses and shoot them and use their bones, and then you could make, reharden them.
Oh,
and,
sure.
Right.
Good calcium carbonate or
That's
whatever.
right. Isn't that how they did it?
It's
They
not
hardened it
cyanide,
in bones,
calcium
didn't they?
Yeah,
Didn't they-
cyanide. It's a cyanide hardening process.
Didn't they harden them in charcoalized bones, I
Well,
think?
you can do that too. There's you can carburize with carbon
Okay.
and introduce it into the surface of steel. That's another good case hardening technique. A lot of the Lockwoods, this pan is broken off.
Yeah.
On this one, it's still in place, but you see on the racer, that one's been broken off. And they break off because, some people think that, well, if you tilt it up with this inside, you're going to break it off. But it's even worse than that. You see what happens when you go to tilt it up?
You hit the tray.
You hit the tray.
Yes.
If you tilt it up hard, you snap it right off. So,
Oh my God, we can't have the tray. We can't have oil dribbling inside of the boat.
no, it's got to
That
go
would be
over
just
the-
awful.
Right.
Not
So
that
anyway,
they don't spit juice and everything else all over everything anyhow.
I had some castings made of replacement trays, and I've done one of these.
Oh, I see. Okay. So how do you go about?
Well, you have to saw off extra metal. There's extra metal here, you see.
Okay, so
See,
you would
this is
do.
really-
You certainly wouldn't use that part.
No.
You'd saw it off here and
Right.
weld it there.
I did
Okay.
extra just to make sure.
All right.
So you saw it, fit it, and have a guy weld it, and I'm personally not so fussy about the drip trays.
Yeah.
To me, they're
Right.
it's not a requirement, but some people really do like seeing. They look, oh, there's a chief with the original drip tray. That's worth a lot more money.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's important to some.
Yeah.
Some of us. Some of it's not.
Now, another piece, it's interesting to talk back about the cooling system. And
28. Or is this all of them?
All
Okay,
of them
yeah.
have, again, that pressure vacuum system.
Right, and we're talking about the pipes that are in here,
Yes,
right?
right.
Okay.
So what typically happens over time is these get really damaged. Okay, see that ferrule's all crushed and the tubing is crushed?
Yeah,
And it may look okay. You say, well, yeah, it's still there, and it's all fine, and we'll just wrench it good and tight,
yeah, and that makes it even worse.
and then see what happens. It's still loose.
Yes,
See how loose it is? It's
right.
really loose.
Yeah.
It's deceiving because you're tightening this, and it's real tight, but it's really loose.
Yeah.
And on these, on the vacuum side, it's really critical. So I've had these not cool well. At
Yeah.
speed, they always cool well because you have so much water going in the front. The water pressure is high enough. But
Oh, these engines idle?
yeah,
I didn't know they
quite
did.
well.
I don't think I've ever run mine at an idle.
Right. Well.
I'm always trying to beat somebody.
Right. Well, maybe a bit. Right. We'll have to do a slow. We'll do a slow race sometime and see how slow we can
Oh,
get going.
no, I don't think
That'll be so much fun. You'll be thrilled.
Oh, I'll be absolutely thrilled beyond belief.
Anyway, so the solution for this,
Make a new,
you can make a new tube, but some of these tubes are actually nicely made and they have nickel plating and all
oh,
that.
God, yeah, I don't want to destroy that. So you
No.
wrap a little bit of string around the
No,
inside.
no, I grind these off and I build the end of the tube with epoxy.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've run into them where they've used string quite successfully with a little bit of goober on it.
You might, yeah, maybe, yeah, some other techniques could be used, but I try to stay with close to original. And,
Okay.
so anyway, I grind that off and I build it up with epoxy and then have it so it seals really well. And they cool really well at low speed that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Repair techniques also, we're going to go over one more little repair technique,
Okay.
and that's the ignition systems on these.
Okay.
They have Eisman and Magnetos,
Okay.
and they tend not to be as robust in life as Johnson's and some of the others.
So the secondaries are
Yeah,
subject to
they're
shorting out.
Yeah. So I've been able to fix these by stripping off the Eisman secondary. So this is an Eisman, this is what an
Yeah.
Eisman actually looks like.
Yep. And
Okay,
what
you
you're
can-
holding in one hand is the Eisman without the secondaries. Oh, yes, you've
Yeah.
already got it all off. I see. Okay, those are the two parts right there.
Yeah, those are the two
All right,
parts.
all right.
And so you slide this off.
It does slide off.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Well,
And that, yeah, and it's not that hard to get those off, by the way.
do you heat them up or anything?
Not on the Eisman, but when I harvest the Johnson, because I use the Johnson secondary,
Yeah.
I take the Johnson secondary off its primary.
You have to heat that
And
up.
I
That's
heat
got-
that, and I heat the ends a little bit with a torch.
You know why it's good?
It softens the tar.
That's correct. You know why it's good? Because it's got tar in it instead of nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they don't need anything.
That's why the secondary is still good.
Well,
That's why the Eisman isn't.
yeah. So this is what a Johnson secondary looks like.
And then you're probably going to tell me next you used epoxy to put them back together again.
No, they fit together nice. I use maybe a little epoxy on the end.
Yeah.
And
Why not tar?
No, it's tar is the last thing you want to use
Why?
because it's black, and it's black because it's got carbon in it, and carbon is a conductor.
I really. Well, then why did they use it?
Because they had nothing better. They had nothing else.
But why are the Johnson ones still good and the Eisman ones suck? Because they use because they use that coal. They use that whatever you call it, the tar in there, and the tar works extremely well.
Right. So I've had Johnsons that I've had to dig the tar out of where the coil mounts in the stator plate. They fill that
Yeah.
whole recess with
Yes,
tar.
yes.
And I've had Johnsons not spark and then testing the coil, they test good.
Well, they track after a while. You get water in there and dirt and
Right,
grit
well,
and
carbon
stuff, and it
tracks
tracks.
too, right.
Yes.
And so the tar's gotta go, and I don't use the tars. In this modern era, with all kinds of great, other materials, the carbon, that black tar is like the last thing you want.
I would beg to differ.
Well,
I've had
go ahead,
extremely
all you
good,
want.
but you know,
Go ahead,
you're
all you
yes,
want.
that's it, right.
So anyway, the Johnson coils, just by pure luck, happen to fit over the Eisman
Okay.
secondary. So one would say, well, why would Eisman make a laminations that's so big on one side and so little on the other? Well, that's how they made these. They just
So they could slide the secondaries on.
secondaries. And Johnson did the same thing. In fact, if you look at Johnson made, this is what's inside a Johnson coil. There's two of these. Okay.
Yep.
And you can see they even have a like a manufacturing lot number on these. You can actually read it. Somebody wrote that in pen 100 years ago.
Oh.
So as it came off its winding machine and it was ready, they probably tested this separate winding and said it's
So
okay.
how did they get them hooked up to the,
So
to
then
the tabs?
yeah, that's tricky. So these coils are also electrically tied together.
Yes.
That's why you get continuity between the two
And
spark
it's
plug
critical
wires.
that they have the same value too.
Yeah. So, but there's no means to test these separately in a
Right.
complete coil. I don't think.
Well, yes, there is. You Mercatronic, you test one side and then you test
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other.
right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. You can with a
Right.
Mercatronic. So anyway, so how do they put these inside the tube? Well, a lot of tricky soldering. So you see this tail right here of wire? It's hanging right here. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. You see, what they do, you can see even the solder on there.
Okay.
What they do is they have it longer,
Yeah.
and they solder it to
The end of that.
the end of that, which
Yeah.
you can't see,
can't
but
see
I can.
right. I can
They
see it
s-
right there.
yeah, they
but it's
solder it.
broken off.
And then they
Push it in.
push it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I think that we've covered.
Frosty says, this is the end of the show.
That's all.
Goodbye.